It's the early 1980s, and racing teams are willing to do almost anything to stay competitive at the most prestigious racing event in the world, Le Mans. However, Porsche took the battle one step further, creating a machine so extraordinary that anything other than a first-place finish would be considered a disappointment. I mean, just take a look at this poster for a few seconds. With the groundbreaking 956 model, Porsche finished in 9 of the first 10 positions at Le Mans '83. A win that represented a significant turning point in its 4-year reign at the World Sports Car Championship. But despite being a car built for endurance, the 956 also broke the record for the fastest lap ever recorded at the Nürburgring, a record that would last for a whopping 35 years. This raised the question, how could such a fast and powerful car possibly be safe for its drivers? Unfortunately, the answer was only found when it was already too late. On April 18, 1982, the 1,000 km at Monza marked the start of a new era in endurance racing. For the first time ever, 25 racing teams competed in the World Sports Car Championship under the game-changing regulations of the brand-new Group C category. Unlike the previous Groups 5 and 6, these new sets of rules revolved around strict fuel consumption limits instead of the old variable weight requirements based on engine size and configuration. As expected by motorsport enthusiasts, the engineering team at Porsche took this new set of rules to their limits, capitalizing on the larger engines, enhanced turbocharging, and closed cockpit for the manufacturing of their brand new 956 model. All over the world, the hype created by Porsche's newest racing car immediately made it this season's favorite, setting very high expectations for its upcoming debut at the 6 Hours of Silverstone. However, it wasn't going to be an easy feat for the German giant. You see, because it was the very first year of Group C, the FIA still allowed Group 6 cars to compete in the Drivers' Championship one final season before phasing them out forever. As a result, Lancia, who was one of Porsche's fiercest rivals at the time, built a brand new car designed to exploit all the advantages that the old regulations had on the new ones, confident that they could outclass every other team on the track. Enter the LC1. Compared to Porsche's 956, Lancia's new car was 200 kilograms lighter, had an open cockpit, and could race at full capacity without worrying about excessive fuel consumption. Yet, aside from their elite machinery, the Italians also counted on 2 very talented drivers in their team, Michele Alboreto and Riccardo Patrese. It was a fierce partnership, but Porsche wasn't falling behind in that regard either. Quite the contrary, they had 2 of the best drivers in the world behind the wheel at the time, the great Jackie Ickx from Belgium and Derek Bell from the United Kingdom. As Porsche and Lancia's engines roared to life at Silverstone, the stage was set for their first head-to-head showdown under 2 different categories. Down Silverstone's long straights, the 956's 2.65-liter twin-turbocharged flat 6 unleashed its full power, reaching top speeds that scraped the 350 km/h mark, faster than any other car on the track. However, raw speed wasn't enough to win this race in particular. On the other side of the circuit, Lancia set an average speed of 188.6 km/h, the fastest pace of the day. While the 956 generated a higher top speed, Lancia's freedom from fuel limitations allowed it to go faster for longer, maintaining incredible momentum through the corners and setting quicker lap times than any other competitor. As the race approached its halfway mark, Ickx and Bell were both forced to slow down to stay within Group C's 100-liter fuel consumption. In spite of their incredible speed at the start, their average pace stagnated at 186 km/h. In the end, the LC1's faster pace of 2 km/h proved too much over the course of 6 hours, and despite Porsche's strategic push, Lancia crossed the finish line with 3 more laps than their rivals. The 956's second-place finish showed the world its potential, but now, all eyes were on Le Mans '82, where the 956 would unleash its full power for the first time ever. Unlike the tiered point system in today's World Endurance Championship, where drivers receive 50 points for 24-hour races and 25 for shorter 6-hour races, the World Sports Car Championship comprised 8 races within a fixed point system. The winner of one race received 20 points, second place 15, third 12, fourth 10, and so on. To become a world champion back in the day, it was a general rule that a team had to win at least 4 of the first 6 races to stay in serious contention. However, despite winning 7 titles in the past 13 years, Porsche's factory team believed that endurance racing's most significant prize wasn't actually the championship, but the prestige, marketing, and loyalty that came with winning at Le Mans. As a result, instead of competing at the 1,000 kilometers of Nürburgring, the German giant decided to skip the event entirely, earning no points for the championship title whatsoever. Meanwhile, Lancia didn't let the opportunity slip and capitalized on it instead. As their LC1 ran flat out at the green hell, the Italian giant secured a very convincing victory, coming out on top of heavy rivals like Rondeau and establishing themselves on top of the driver and manufacturer standings. In response, Porsche decided to go even crazier at Le Mans, splitting a whopping 7 drivers into 3 teams to showcase what their new masterpiece could do in 24 hours of racing. Not only would Ickx and Bell compete in car number 1, but they also had Jochen Mass and Vern Schuppen in car number 2, and Hurley Haywood, Al Hobart, and Jürgen Barth in car number 3. As the clock struck 3 p.m. on June 19, 1982, the engines revved at Circuit de la Sarthe to signal the start of one of the most anticipated showdowns of the decade. Yet, in a shocking turn of events, Lancia's hopes quickly began to unravel. During the opening laps, the 2 LC1s suffered fuel pump failures, forcing Michele Alboreto and Riccardo Patrese to limp back to the pits. The repairs took nearly an hour, and by the time both cars rejoined, they were already 6 laps down from the top positions. Meanwhile, the Porsche 956 was in complete control of the competition. After an early fuel-saving stint, Ickx carved through traffic and claimed the lead within the first 10 laps, setting a pace of around 235 km per hour with surgical precision. As darkness fell, Lancia's comeback attempt collapsed when one LC1 suffered a blown engine and the other an electrical failure. Unfortunately for the Italians, this resulted in the entire team being eliminated from the competition after 18 hours. At the same time, Porsche had a stranglehold on the race overnight, running 1-2 with Ickx and Bell at the front and Jochen Mass and Vern Schuppen behind in second. Even with a puncture forcing Derek Bell to crawl back to the pits on 3 tires in hour 21, Porsche's lead was never truly threatened in what was one of the most masterclass performances of the decade. At 3 p.m. on June 20th, Ickx's Porsche 956 crossed the finish line first, winning by 3 laps, leading a 1-2-3 factory Porsche sweep, with Haywood, Holbert, and Barth finishing strong in 3rd place. As the crowd roared in excitement, it was clear a new endurance racing hegemony had arrived, and the era of the 956 was just getting started. Newspapers worldwide were abuzz with coverage of their fantastic feat, and motorsport enthusiasts wondered if the new and revolutionary Porsche 956 was really going to become the most dominant endurance car of all time. Fortunately for them, the answer came way earlier than what they could have expected. As the factory team got accustomed to the 956 and the Group C regulations, Porsche gradually outperformed Lancia in almost every aspect. Despite their rivalry at the start of the season, Porsche ended up winning 3 of the following 4 races, while the Italians could only clinch 1 victory. This left a very strong message in the motorsport community. The rivalry was over. Engine failures, electrical problems, and mechanical wear sent Lancia into a negative spiral during the second half of the season. Meanwhile, Jackie Ickx and Derek Bell kept their momentum going, winning 3 of the remaining 4 races with ease. They had done it. With an overall 5 wins in 8 races, combined with the 75 manufacturer points, Porsche secured both the manufacturers and drivers' championships for the first time in 5 years. As Derek Bell and Jackie Ickx celebrated on the podium during the last race of the championship, 2 things were for sure. The Group 6 era had ended, and Porsche's hegemony under Group C regulations was just getting started. During the winter of 1982, before the start of the new season, Porsche's motorsport division was riding at an all-time high. The recent triumph at Le Mans and subsequent championship title not only boosted their economics, but also reinforced their dominant position in the automotive industry. In Germany, newspapers hailed Porsche as the gold standard of endurance racing, while fans and journalists alike speculated on whether any team had what it took to challenge them in the upcoming championship. Yet, as good as the 1982 season had been for the German giant, the upcoming one in 1983 was shaping up to be even more extraordinary. After months of aerodynamic refinements and component modifications, the new version of the 956 was now 20 kilograms lighter. The front suspension had been reworked to enhance stability and grip, and most importantly, Porsche introduced the Bosch Motronic fuel injection system, an electronically controlled setup that improved fuel economy and throttle response. Nonetheless, even with all of these upgrades, the best decision the Porsche team made during these months wasn't related to the car itself, but to the signing of one of the most talented and promising young drivers at the time. At only 25 years old, Stefan Bellof had won the German Formula Ford 1600 Championship, achieved multiple victories in Formula 3, and made a stunning debut in the European Formula 2 series, making him the youngest driver ever to win on his Formula 2 debut. Not only did the rising German star gain a reputation based on his stunning performances, but he was also known and loved for his eccentric personality and fearless driving style.
He used to call me father and I used to call him son, and we had an amazing relationship. And I really, of course, you can't help but like the guy that you are a teammate. And I think even today, even with all the politics and the stuff, they have to be pushing each other and going quicker than each other. I never tried to go quicker than Stefan Bellof, because I knew that over an hour my lap times basically would always be the average out the same, if not quicker. He just said he had these incredible moments of going electronically fast.
Nonetheless, the great relationship that Derek Bell had with Bellof was not shared by everyone in Porsche's dressing room. Although these claims cannot be entirely confirmed, it was heavily rumored at the time that Jackie Ickx saw Bellof as a threat to his status within the team and was determined not to be overshadowed by the rising star. Very similar to Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost during their fierce rivalry in Formula 1. Not every elite athlete likes to share the spotlight, and due to both of their aggressive and overachieving personalities, the duo couldn't help but clash on the paddock. However, despite his young age, Bellof never gave in to the pressure of the legend. Quite the contrary, he outperformed all of the team during his debut at Silverstone in the second round of the World Sports Car Championship, securing pole position and winning the entire race alongside Derek Bell as a co-driver. The same momentum continued during qualifying for the 1,000 kilometers of Nürburgring, as Bellof unleashed the full power of the 956's 2.65-liter twin-turbo flat six and drifted through the treacherous corners of the Green Hell at mind-boggling speeds that surpassed 200 kilometers per hour. 6 minutes, 11.13 seconds. That was all it took for Bellof to complete a lap that would stand as the fastest in Nürburgring's history for a jaw-dropping 35 years. All motorsport media outlets went crazy that day. Newspapers, international TV coverage, and especially local German media were all buzzing about the historic feat that the most prominent talent had achieved. Even Jochen Mass, who was Jackie Ickx's new co-driver for the season, couldn't help but pronounce himself about it with a very surprising declaration.
Is that inter-team rivalry between the two Germans? It's a big rivalry between you two?
No.
No?
No.
Jochen?
Well, what do you think it is then? It's just plain skill, I guess.
So he has more skill than you?
Well, he's got more skill than us, yes, I'm afraid so. No, he's very good. I mean, 6:11 is an outstanding time, and I really believe that Formula 1 would have to stretch itself, to better that time.
Nonetheless, despite all the commotion that Stefan Bellof caused that day, only a few could tell that the path he was going through with his overly aggressive style was not sustainable. During the actual race at the Green Hell the day after breaking the world record, Bellof pushed the 956 beyond its limits, desperately wanting to surpass the historic feat of the day before. Yet this time, the outcome would be quite the opposite. In one of the most dramatic moments of the season, Bellof lost control at Flansgarden, one of the Nürburgring's most challenging sections, known for its high-speed jumps and sudden elevation changes. The car became airborne over a crest, leading to a violent crash in which it flipped and landed on its roof. As flames engulfed the wreckage, marshals rushed to the scene, fearing the worst. Miraculously, Bellof walked away unhurt. However, what shocked everyone was his reaction. He seemed unfazed and wanted to continue racing.
Do you think you were trying too hard, you were going too quickly considering you had a 30-second lead?
No, I draw always the same line on this position, on this place. In my first part always the same line, and said I don't know why it's with this accident now.
The accident caused great commotion, but Porsche still emerged victorious at the 1983 1,000-kilometer Nürburgring, with Jackie Ickx and Jochen Mass securing the win. This proved something. While Bellof represented the future, Porsche still had legends leading the charge that could make a difference when it mattered, and this pattern was going to repeat itself throughout the rest of the season. It is one of the most one-sided spectacles in endurance racing history. Porsche marked a turning point in motorsport when 9 privateers teams and their 3 factory 956s competed in Le Mans during the following race of the season. It was a spectacle like no other, and by the end of it, 9 956s finished in the top 10 positions, with the trio of Verstappen, Hurley Haywood, and Al Holbert securing first place, Jackie Ickx and Derek Bell finishing second, and the Kramer Racing team of Mario Andretti in third. That day, Porsche's most historic poster was born, a visual celebration that not only represented their absolute dominance at Le Mans, but also foreshadowed their upcoming success. By the end of the 1983 season, Porsche's factory secured the World Endurance Championship once again, with Ickx claiming his second consecutive title with 97 points, Derek Bell securing third place with 76 points, and Belloff finishing fourth overall with 3 wins and 75 points. In the summer of 1983, great news arrived at Porsche headquarters. To address safety concerns, the FIA introduced stricter fuel consumption limits, reducing the allowed average from 60 liters per 100 kilometers to 51 liters per 100 kilometers. In response, the Porsche engineering team developed a new version of the 956 that featured a highly improved suspension system and the introduction of the Bosch Motronic engine management for better economy and power. Yet, with or without these changes, the outcome of the World Sports Car Championship was destined to be the same as the previous 2 seasons. As most motorsport enthusiasts anticipated, Porsche secured 7 victories out of the 11 races. This time, however, Stefan Belloff emerged as the driver's champion, achieving a whopping 139 driver points and multiple wins throughout the season. Belloff's consistent performances surpassed those of all of his teammates, including Jochen Mass, who finished second with 131 points, and the great Jackie Ickx, who could only secure third place with 104 points. As a result, tensions between Ickx and Belloff, who beat him in front of millions, were now at an all-time high. To capitalize on the situation, Brunn Motorsport, a Swiss racing team known for fielding competitive Porsche entries, extended an irresistible offer to Belloff at the end of the 1984 season. And just like that, the rising superstar was gone from Porsche's factory team overnight and was now going to compete against his former team using his former car. But the engineering team wasn't going to sit idly. In response, it developed the Porsche 962C for the factory squad, a new model that, unlike the 956, featured an extended wheelbase and relocated pedal box to comply with updated safety standards. With all of these changes in check, 1985 was shaping up to be the most intense of the decade, as a battle between Ickx and Belloff for the title was inevitable, and it didn't disappoint. After the first 6 races, the teams amassed crucial points. While the Porsche factory team led the standings with 90 points, Brunn Motorsport trailed closely with 85 points. The 7th race of the season, the 1,000 kilometers of Spa, loomed as a decisive event in the championship, having both Jackie Ickx and Stefan Belloff competing against each other for the championship. On the 1st of September of 1985 in Spa-Francorchamps, the 1,000-kilometer race commenced under intense conditions. The circuit's high speed, combined with its notorious elevation changes and unforgiving corners, made every lap a test of skill and precision. With the championship implications on the line, the rivalry between Jackie Ickx and Stefan Belloff took center stage. Lap after lap, the two showcased their exceptional skills, navigating the slick track with daring maneuvers and strategic prowess. Spectators watched in anticipation as Ickx, driving the 962C, and Belloff, driving the 956B, exchanged positions, neither willing to concede an inch. Nevertheless, in motorsport, there's a fine line between a battle filled with pride and strategy and the moment when ambition turns into tragedy. As Jackie Ickx approached the daunting Eau Rouge corner, Belloff attempted an aggressive overtaking maneuver. Unfortunately, the two cars made contact, resulting in a catastrophic collision. Belloff's Porsche 956B breached the barriers and erupted in flames. As marshals and medical personnel rushed to the scene, Jackie Ickx, who had managed to escape his damaged car unscathed, immediately returned to assist in the rescue efforts. Despite their prompt intervention, the severity of the impact left little hope for the thousands of motorsport fanatics who witnessed the accident in disbelief. A few minutes later, Stefan Belloff was extracted from the wreckage and transported to the circuit's medical center, where the media reported that the 27-year-old superstar had succumbed to his injuries. The whole world of motorsport mourned that day, and everyone couldn't help but wonder how such a young, talented individual whose only thought was racing was no longer with them. Just like that. Despite their differences, Jackie Ickx was deeply affected by Beloff's passing and chose to retire from professional racing shortly thereafter. However, he's refrained from public commentary on the incident until this day, an action that reflects the impact that this incident had on the rest of his life. On the other hand, the aftermath of Beloff's passing prompted introspection within the racing world, leading to intensified scrutiny of safety protocols and vehicle design standards. While the championship continued, the loss of such a promising talent left an indelible void. Despite the Porsche factory team securing a defining victory at the 1,000 kilometers of Fuji and winning their 4th consecutive world championship, Beloff's emotional toll was too significant for a celebration like in the previous years. The incident deeply hurt the entire motorsport community, igniting widespread criticism of Group C regulations and calls for comprehensive safety reforms. Eventually, the Porsche 956 was phased out from all motorsport teams in 1986 due to evolving safety concerns, while Group C stopped as a whole in 1993 due to the rising costs and declining participation. In the end, no matter how many trophies and records the 956 brought to the factory team, it will always be remembered as a car too fast for its own good.